Good evening, everybody. My name is Karen McHugh. I'm the Theater Operations Manager and Development Assistant for the RiverRun Film Festival. And we are very excited to be here after this fine film with Richard Lui, who is the director of the film. And also I've got with me John Larson, who is the sponsor of this wonderful film. He's also our City Council member of the South Ward and a veteran. And so we're very excited to have you both here and to talk about your fabulous film. So Richard, I just wanted to start by asking you where the film came from, how you had the idea of it, and what got you here.
Karen and John, thanks for having me in the RiverRun Film Festival. I can't tell you how much it means to us in many different ways. One of the major ways is how I got into this whole thing, and that was I was working with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation as an ambassador for her Hidden Heroes program, which is about the caregivers and military families. And I know that Senator Dole is a name well known to both of you, as well as to the state, as well as to the country. And she has been a great mentor in leadership, a servant leader, as she has always described herself, in helping to take care of our military community. So it really began with that when she launched the Hidden Heroes campaign with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation. Oh, shucks, maybe 5 years ago. And they had me moderate that, and then I became ambassador after that. Tom Hanks was there, Tom Brokaw was there to launch the program. And there, today we have a film on military caregivers.
I was fascinated to read that you launched this on November 11th at the Kennedy Center in the middle of the pandemic. How did you do that? How did that even happen?
You know, there was no stopping us standing up for our veteran community. There was no stopping us standing up for our caregiving community. And we said, if there's anything that will really underline the importance of this topic now, especially, would be to do it there at the Kennedy Center. And we had a bunch of different ideas about how to do the world premiere. One was to be at the Washington Monument. And we liked the monument because it represents unity. Because inside the monument are stones from every state of the Union. And there's inscriptions on every one of them. And if there's any time where we wanted unity, it's today. And so when we couldn't do that because of COVID, we thought of the Kennedy Center and doing their first ever drive-in in the 50-year history of the Kennedy Center. And again, this was worth it for our veteran community. This was worth it for our caregiving community. And everybody came along with us and said, we're with you on this. We agree.
Well, it's a fascinating story, and I'm very impressed with it, Richard. As a veteran, I appreciate you taking the next chapter in a story that is often not told about our veterans that come back. You know, they're able to survive the battlefield now more than ever, and yet the story of what happens when they actually come home, you know, oftentimes beat up a little bit, of course, what their lives are like and how we support them as a community. And I thought that was particularly compelling. I thought one of the interesting things was that you managed to sort of winnow it down to 5 families. And you had, I think you said something like the 5.4 million, I think your movie says toward the end, of caregivers that are out there right now. How did you come about finally figuring out how to tell the story from these particular 5? I mean, they're scattered from Pennsylvania to Hawaii, you know, so that's quite a logistical effort.
Yeah, it was both not difficult to find, because you mentioned the 5 million children that are caring for an adult, the 5 million students that are caring for somebody in their family, and there's over 500,000 children in military families that are caring for their loved ones. The numbers are large. And so it was not difficult to find them, but it was difficult to decide which ones, right? And along the lines of showing difference to find sameness was how we, in the end, had 5 families. You know, we have one from the Midwest and the South. We've got one from the East and the West and the Pacific Islands. We've got families that represent the Latino American, African American, Native American, Asian American, White American families across the country. And we did, in the end, be able to, again, try to bring, because this is something we all can agree with when it comes to our veterans, that we support them. We're thankful for people like you, John, who put yourself in harm's way in various different ways. And it's the whole family, as you know, is really the military family. And they all do different roles. And we wanted to focus on the young role because sometimes people forget that. And sometimes I think I'm guilty of it. I think just because you're younger, you don't know what you're doing, or you're not selfless. And here in this movie, you see some really amazing 11 through 26-year-olds standing up and being selfless and being amazing. And we want to show other young folks, yes, you're not the only one doing that, and it's a good thing to do. And for us to look at them a little bit differently too.
It was interesting to me too to see, and it probably over a course of time, which I'm curious about too, how long that took for you to actually film the families and then you do your post. But they seem very comfortable, very emotional, and I was impressed too by scenes of, you know, you're filming them walking through school and there are other kids around and everybody seemed at ease around your crew. So did you have just one photographer, one film, you know, one photographer, cinematographer, just to kind of keep it more private? Because I know how hard it is to get out there and just shoot.
Yeah, thank you for noting that, Karen. You know, in the interviews, it's a little weird for them, especially for the 11-year-olds, right? I also interviewed a 5-year-old, not so successfully, but we did 7 and 5-year-olds and all up to 26. And you're noting also that we have no talking heads. There are no experts in this.
Right.
This is their story. And what I told each family is I would be there till to the very end of the process. As a journalist, I was not gonna let things seep into the story that weren't their stories. And so I knew they were giving me something, and I was taking it, and I'm gonna guard it. And as a caregiver, they knew that I would do that. So when I was speaking with them, I was just as surprised as you were, because they were very honest and let down their guard. And I think it's because they knew that I'm walking the same journey as they are as a caregiver. And there was things that they would say or ways I might ask a question that we knew we were brothers and sisters, regardless of our age difference or any other differences, that we were very similar.
And if you can get that a little bit too about, you've written a book, Enough About Me. Can you talk, I didn't mean to interrupt, but can you just talk a little bit about your story?
Yeah, the book Enough About Me is about me growing up, and my father's a pastor, and how I, throughout the journey later on in life, had to care for him, and I still do. He was diagnosed with Alzheimer's 8 years ago, and I've been flying when I could back and forth from New York, where I'm at now, to California to help care for him 2 or 3 times a month. And that's a long way to go, 10 hours door to door. So when I was sitting down to speak with, and that's what I outlined in the book Enough About Me, which thank you for asking, just came out. And so for the movie, when I would express to them what I've been journeying through, they, I think, just got it, that, you know, and I was able to offer advice and console, and they to me as well. So yeah, we did have one director of photography throughout. The team is 100, the field crew is 100% female. And that was a conscious choice, because in working in news for 15 years, I've never had one director of photography that was female. They were all male. And I know that there's an opportunity. This is a small film, right? This is not some major big budget, but I wanted to walk the talk. And I knew as a feminist and as a person that would never think my mother or my sister should ever have any less of an opportunity because they happen to be born as female, I was not going to let that get in the way of me making these small budget decisions in the right way. And so even when I was called away for one of the shoots, which is not in this film, because my father was not well and going to the hospital, I had to fly to California, but my crew still proceeded with the shoot. And I knew that they knew what is the right tone and the right questions. One of the best interviews, I got to tell you, when I wasn't there, says a lot about my importance to the team.
How is your dad?
Well, he gained a pound.
Okay.
And if he can gain a pound during COVID and he can no longer eat or talk or walk, he has a stomach feeding tube now. That's really good. So thanks for asking, Karen. Yeah, and I feel I'm going to see him for the first time during the month of the festival. So I'm grateful.
I'm glad to hear. What is your plan now what will you do with this film from this point on?
Well, we will be broadcasting it nationally on a major cable network, which you might guess. And it'll also be on Peacock streaming in July 4th. It'll also be in your Walmart's DVD will be there. We'll also have it available in addition to that in theaters on the lead up to Memorial Day. So it's a one night only, but it's with AMC, and all of this is happening on the lead up to Memorial Day.
And would there be discounts for veterans? How will that work?
Yes, it's a discount for America. It will be for free.
Oh, it's the best.
That's the best. That's the best.
That's right.
And I want to mention also, and I forgot to in the beginning, we have a wonderful bookstore here, Bookmarks, this wonderful organization who will be also promoting your book. So we want to thank them as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And it's a fine, wonderful film. And it just says a lot about hope and care and love with families. And it's interesting too that you have a primarily female crew, because it was probably much more comfortable for the girls in the film to be maybe talking with other women. But the guys were great too. I mean, the young brother and of course all the men, all the veterans themselves. I
thought the veterans were incredibly brave, considering what they've been through, and humble about all of their ordeals. And I was impressed by the compassion and love that was exhibited by the children that they had. Clearly, a trying situation, but all of them clearly loved their fathers and were committed to them, as well as the spouses and the people that were involved. I am interested, sort of a technical aspects of this movie fascinated me, and some choices that you made. There's always a background music, and there's the animation that you inserted, which I thought was interesting detail that sort of broke the rhythm a little bit of what we were seeing, and still conveyed the story, but in a different way. Almost a little dark, I thought. I don't know whether that was intentional, but it was, obviously black on black, basically. And I thought it was effective. I thought it was very effective. And I just didn't know if you had any observations about why that was put in, or what your thoughts were. And music is always a compelling thing. And to have the Berkeley Symphony, is that who I saw?
That's right. The Berkeley
wrangle them to do your music for you.
The Berkeley College of Music's Symphonic Orchestra. Yes, there's so many people that as soon as we told them about the project, they were saying, how can we help? and we probably have about a million and a half in-kind pro bono donations for the film. And that just tells you what the love for this story, right? And the importance of this story. People that, don't normally do stuff like that. And so, yeah, the Berklee College of Music was fantastic. We have an original score, and we have theme songs for each family that you don't hear actually at the end, but that will be released for Memorial Day. You'll be able to download and listen to these amazing performances of theme songs for each family. So I worked with the composer, Maria Leneva, on this because we wanted to make sure each song reflected the family's journey. And so everything is intentional. As you know, there are very few female composers that are part of scores or soundtracks. Maria stands out for many ways, just simply because of her great skill. But on top of that, that she is a composer, and I've since explored with her how she can be part of NBC Universal's Young Composer Program. And so that was very intentional. The music is intentional also because my mother, who is the primary caregiver for my father, loves music. She was singing in the choir since she was 12 years old. She plays the piano, self-taught, and she plays a jazz guitar. Don't ask me. She plays also and a guitar. I would come home and she'd be singing the blues. 65-year-old Chinese American woman. I'm going, what are you doing, Mom? Something went wrong. She started playing the violin in her late 70s.
Wow.
It's always been her solace and the way she communicates and rejoices. And therefore, I knew that this needed to be part of the movie for her because that was the way, she would do it. Every since I was a kid. After dinner, she's out singing Bible hymns, the hymns that she would, and Mom, please. But now I really do appreciate them. So very intentional. The animation was because there were some heroic moments that we weren't there for when these young caregivers did something amazing.
Right.
And we needed to share that with our audience. And so we have a Disney animator who worked with that very simple, as you noted, monotone color. We didn't want to get too fancy. We just really wanted to show you how they were heroically selfless in their caregiving for their parent or grandparent. And that's why we put the animation in. That was a tough one to decide what was the right style and how much of it to use, right? And you saw hopefully their heroism in what they did for their family.
It was
I
fantastic.
love the little segment where Rihanna, she's talking about her father being embarrassed and she said, just turn around, and you went from the graphics to doing the thing. I mean, what a sweetheart. Yeah, what an amazing.
That brings me to tears every single time, John. That I've watched this movie so many times, but that moment, it's just so real.
Yeah.
And she is on the spectrum herself and gets bullied.
Yeah.
So how much have you been able to stay in touch with these people since you've done all the, I mean, you basically finished filming after what, 3 years of jumping across country, I guess, to do different shoots. I mean, the whole logistics of this fascinate me as to how you were able to move around and get all this footage and cover it over long periods of time. And
well, my crew and me and my Pelican cases have seen a lot of airports in a lot of places, it's a great country, lots of places to see, and a lot of great people. We stuck with it for 3 years, and we stopped filming a year ago, but I still have been speaking with them, doing follow-ups, because we're trying to get the word out on young caregivers and military families. And we want this to be able to turn into programming so that we can get them more help. As you know, there's over 53 million family caregivers in America. We all need help. And no better ambassadors than those 5 protagonists in the film. No better.
We've got time for one more. Explain again what Sky Blossom means.
Yes. Colonel Jack Jacobs, who's a good friend of mine, Medal of Honor recipient, who has been walking these halls here at 30 Rock, where I'm at today, for over a decade. And he is also former 82nd Airborne. And there was a saying back in World War II, when the paratroopers would come in to assist, not only for medics being deployed, but also more troops behind the line or on the line. And the troops on the ground would look up and say, "Oh, here come the Sky Blossoms," because the parachutes would pop open and they would look like blossoms. And they would be coming to help. And so these young protagonists are that. They are coming to help. They're behind the lines. And on top of that, because they're younger, they are blossoming as amazing people. And this is why we say Sky Blossom, the diaries of the next greatest generation. I really do believe they are them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard,
Thank you so much, Richard.